So another strategic decision that you have to make in order to have championship social media is your anticipation of needs. Very simply, smart marketers have a vision of what they want their social media to be and what it will take to get there in both the short term, the medium term, and the long term. The creators of the Social Media Command Center knew what they needed. They knew they needed space. They knew they needed hardware. That's why you're seeing an image of the Social Media Command Center. But just as important, they knew they had human and technological needs in order to accomplish their goal. So in terms of human capital, it was determined that they needed 50 social users to accomplish this goal. Now, this is, I think, somewhat of a unique case. Some of you out there may have the ability to have 50 users contribute to your social media. I know that I don't, and I know that many companies do not. So you do need a sort of critical mass of bodies, definitely, but scaling up to 50 users is not always a sort of feasible practice. But technology is the other piece that you need to evaluate, and it actually is more scalable than just hiring more social media managers. So they use technology to overcome some of their challenges and meet their goals. I want to talk to you about strategic decisions you can make when you're evaluating a technological product in terms of social media. So there's some certain specific technological considerations you can make to purchase technology or participate in the technology that will make your social media more efficient and increase engagement. The first consideration is users. So what I mean by users, I mean a couple things. Primarily, the amount of people that will contribute directly or indirectly to your social media. That's going to help determine the users determine the technology that you need. So will you have 10 people? Will you have 50 people? Will you have 2 people? If you have that many people, or you want to have that many people in the future, and you want to, take advantage of some technology, does that technology, work with that many users, or is it meant to just work with just one user? Are there sort of workflows and task management that you need to put in there to make sure that users can work together? The other thing you need to consider when evaluating users is, what are the users' jobs? What are their responsibilities? And this, most people sort of have users doing everything right now. So you'll have a user that publishes, a user that monitors, also measures and responds to comments, and then another user that does all those same things. And maybe you have one user that does it for Facebook, and you have one user that does it for Twitter. Or maybe you have 2 users, and they both do it for both Facebook and both Twitter, which is fine. But is that what you want your social media to be in the future? Or do you want to have a more sort of divided task management, where you have someone who does the initial posting, maybe another person that does the monitoring, another person that does the reporting? I know an example like Mashable, they have people that just respond to comments. They don't actually do the initial posting themselves. They have a team that responds to comments. There's no right or wrong answer here, but you need to know what your users obviously do now, but what do you want them to do in the future, and will your technology fit a future workflow that you're thinking of? So I have a question here about, can I expound what I mean by social properties? I think in reference to the last slide. Sorry, it just caught my eye. But what I mean by social properties is, instead of one Twitter account, why not have 2 Twitter accounts for 2 different topics? Instead of one Facebook account, you could have 2 Facebook pages for 2 different topics. So that's what I mean by dividing your social media into different social properties by topic. But let me continue with the technological considerations. The second technological consideration is channels. Very simply, what channels are you currently in, and what channels do you want to be in the future? Does your social tool work with those channels? That's an easy one. So integration. Integration is a little bit tricky. Social marketing is still relatively new. Social systems do integrate with other systems right now, but not every single system talks to every other system. So what you need to talk about is, what other systems, non-social systems, do we need to evaluate success or make our social marketing effective? What needs to talk to what? In most cases, the more well-known and highly used the system, the more likely it is a social tool will talk to that system. So if you use Salesforce or Google Analytics, the odds are that a social system can talk to those systems and information can be passed back and forth. If you use something that's a little bit more obscure or homegrown or whatever it is, there's probably not going to be a direct integration. That doesn't mean it can't happen. So what you have to do there is a cost-benefit analysis. So most social tools can integrate their system to another system And if it's not standard, they can do it for a fee. So you just need to think, how much is this fee, and is it, how much more effective will it make our social marketing? Will it make our social marketing so much more effective that we'll make more money than the fee? Very simple. The other thing to keep in mind about integration is because social marketing is somewhat immature, it might not be a direct integration. Maybe you do have two systems, and you would like them to talk, but they don't talk. Could you use some, human, basically elbow grease to be a workaround? So I don't have these systems talking, but I download one sheet, download another sheet, put them together in Excel, and I have what I need. Or I'll just take a look at one piece of information and another. So integration is a consideration. The last topic for technological considerations is new features. So I like to think of these as the known unknowns. I guarantee you that in 12 months, you're going to be doing something in social marketing that doesn't even exist right now. I can't tell you what it is, but I know that it's going to happen because it happens all the time. So you can't really anticipate your needs like that. You can't call up a vendor and say, hey, will you guys have a new feature that you don't even know about? You can't ask that question, but what you can do is look back at a vendor and say, what have you done in the past 3 months? What have you done in the past 6 months? Are you up on the new features that come out in social marketing? If they are, the odds are when a new feature comes up that you're going to want to use, you will be able to, that vendor will keep up with it. So I want to talk back about the Social Media Command Center and what they did with this. So they evaluated their user needs. Again, they had 50 users with defined roles. Some were super users that were able to do lots of things, and some were just users that had specific tasks. So that was a technological consideration that they needed. They worked primarily in Facebook and Twitter, so there wasn't any additional channel that they were looking to use. They did use different systems. So I know I said awareness powered everything, but they weren't the only system. For example, they used a Q&A database called chacha.com in order to sort of find information for their social marketing. There was not a direct integration, but the users were able to use both systems at the same time effectively. There wasn't any specific new feature that came out during the course of the Super Bowl that Radius needed to take advantage of, but there was a huge amount of traffic. So I think I read there was about 10,000 tweets per second during both the halftime show and sort of at the final game-winning drive of the Super Bowl. So there was a huge amount of data that needed to be processed. So that was a sort of a feature consideration that Radius needed to take into account, and we at Awareness worked with them to make sure nothing got choked up. So let's talk about what else can make you have championship social media. Championship social media have great teams. They have empowered users. Empowered users engage their audience in real time with information that is both interesting and accurate. This increases engagement. This increases fans. This increases conversions. Empowered users are necessary for championship social media. So let's talk about how you can empower a user. Empowered users are obviously knowledgeable. And there's a couple different areas of knowledge. So again, we talked about topics that the Social Media Command Center was going to address and topics that they were going to ignore. They're addressing topics like parking issues and directions and public safety and Indianapolis community service, that sort of thing. So those are the things that they know. That's Hoosier hospitality for the 21st century. So they may not know who the special teams coach is of the New England Patriots, but you bet they know or know where to find all the scheduling information for pretty much anything in the city. So take a look at some of their tweets. Here's when this concert starts. Here's when that concert starts. Here's when the Jimmy Fallon taping begins. Here's when the sandwich trucks will be at Monument Circle. So they were definitely knowledgeable or had the ability to find the knowledge that they needed relative to their topics. The other aspect of knowledge is knowledge of technology, knowledge of basically the tactics in order to accomplish their goals. So Radius made sure that the users were trained for the Awareness Social Marketing Hub, but most importantly, they were trained for the Awareness Social Marketing Hub relative to Radius's best practices. Technology should reflect your best practices. It should not be the other way around where technology, whatever system you're using, is dictating your best practices. You, as social marketers, you know what works or you test what works and you find out what works, and then you use adaptable technology to make sure that that actually happens, and you make sure your users know how there's the interplay between your best practices and the technology. So in the case of Radius, users had specific roles. So that's another part of empowered users is focus. So what they did is you're seeing here Twitter streams. different Twitter streams that the users would monitor, monitoring different keywords and different direct messages or direct tweets, that kind of thing. And Radius made sure that the users at the Social Media Command Center were focused, and they did this with simplification and access controls. So you have a user come in, their job is to monitor this keyword or these keywords and respond via these keywords. Your job is not to then, get bored and bounce over to the reports area and start looking at that. No, their job was focused on responding to clients, and Radius made sure that they're responding to relevant keywords. Now, why is this important? Why does focus help with your social marketing? Well, social media can be overwhelming. Given the amount of data there is in the social universe, technically social marketing can be an infinite task. You could literally sit down there every second of the day and inject yourself into social conversations. However, resources are not infinite. The reason people don't sit down every second of the day and do that is because resources are not infinite. So that's why it's important to maintain a focus and try to find the relevant conversations that you should be in. So as far as the Social Media Command Center, they did this. They kept their users focused in terms of tasks and keywords. Maybe they didn't inject themselves into every single relevant conversation across the social web, but they injected themselves into relevant conversations at their capacity, which is all they could have really done anyway. So the next aspect of championship social media is content. So you hear a lot in the social space that content is king, and I believe that content is king, but in a lot of cases, and especially in this case, I like to think of content as the lifeblood of your social marketing. So basically, without content, your social marketing is dead. It's hollow. With bad content, it's kind of sick. So how can you keep your content fresh and engaging and make you into a championship social marketer? I can't tell you exactly what to post. I can't tell you exactly what to do, but let's talk about some best practices. I highly recommend content calendars. Content calendars will keep you organized, and it will keep you posting relevant information on a regular basis. So how should you go around, creating a content calendar? People talk about content calendars. Let's talk about how to actually create a content calendar. So what your content calendar should contain is it should contain the actual piece of content's completion date. So like today, on the content calendar, there's a webinar. The webinar is, this day. Or you have a video coming out, a new product video that's coming out on the 15th, or, a new data sheet, or whatever it is, or whenever the piece of content is going to be complete, that should be on the content calendar. Obviously, the next thing that should be on the content calendar, if this is a social media content calendar, is the social media posts. So you have something coming out on the 15th, so I'm going to tweet about it on the 15th, and I'm going to put a Facebook post up about it on the 15th. I'm also going to tweet about it on the 16th, twice maybe. I'm going to tweet about it on the 17th and the 18th, and maybe I'll do another Facebook post on the 19th. That should also be on the content calendar. The other thing that could be on the content calendar, depending on your workflow, is a response time. Some of you may respond to everything in real time, and you have your Facebook page up, and you wait for comments to come in, and you respond in real time. And if that's your workflow, that's great. And the sooner to real time you can get, the better. Others may wait until there is a groundswell of comments and respond to them. So again, I said that we were going to do a Facebook post on the 16th. Maybe you're a busy professional, and you want to have respond to all those posts at once. So you have on your content calendar on the 16th, go back into my post on the 15th, respond to all the comments. Respond to all the tweets, whatever it is. The other thing that you can include in a content calendar is non-social marketing. So if you want to make this into a true marketing calendar, you could also put on your email e-newsletter, or any sort of purchases that you've made, anything like that. But for a true social calendar, this is what's going to make you realize that everything you do is social. You have a ton of content. I guarantee that almost everybody on this call has a ton of content out there that they can put onto social. One of the challenges is, I feel like I don't have a lot of content. Put a content calendar together, and you'll be shocked at how much content you actually have. So in the case of the Super Bowl Social Media Command Center, let's talk about their content calendar. So you're seeing a post here for Jimmy Fallon. So Jimmy Fallon came and he filmed a show at Indianapolis during Super Bowl week. So this is a good example of something that was on the content calendar. It was strategic and reactionary. They knew via the content calendar that Jimmy Fallon was taping a certain day at a certain time in a certain location. So they went there and they took a picture and they posted it on Facebook in the wall photos. So that's strategic and reactionary, right? They knew that there was an event going on. They didn't have the actual photo because it hadn't happened yet. But they went, they knew it was happening, they took the photo, and they posted it on Facebook. So this is a good example of knowing when your content is coming up and having a plan for it. You know, we do this with our awareness webinars a lot with the content calendar, by the way. You know, we don't just, you know, put together a webinar and that's it. The content calendar has all the activity about a webinar. So you're going to start to see some follow-up information about this webinar via email and via social streams. So you are now participating in a content calendar. So congratulations.